So let's be real, you spend hours, maybe even days, grinding medals for this weapon. It's the final prize on the page 10 of the Helldivers Mobilized Warbond, a weapon that costs a small fortune in democratic dedication to finally unlock it. It's the Plas-1 Scorcher. But after all that effort, one critical question remains. Is it actually good? We've all been there, unlocking what we hope is a god tier weapon, only to discover it handles like an expensive paperweight. Today we're putting the Scorcher through the ultimate stress test. We're taking it through the front lines, against every enemy of Super Earth, to find out if this is the ultimate weapon you've been hoping for, or a tragic waste of hard-earned medals. Before we dive into the glorious chaos, let's first look at the brochure. This isn't just a rifle, it's an energy weapon that fires bolts of superheated gas that explodes on impact. The stat sheet can be a bit misleading, but the magic is in its dual damage profile. Each shot deals 100 ballistic damage from the projectile, plus another 100 explosive damage from the area of effect blast. That explosive trait is the secret sauce. While the projectile itself only has light armor penetration, the explosion can damage enemies right through medium armor. After a recent update, it fires out 350 rounds per minute and features both semi-auto and full auto modes for better control. But you get a limited number of spare mags, so ammo conservation is a real concern. The 2.5 second reload can feel like an eternity when a horde is bearing down onto you, but the weapon has surprisingly low recoil for something that fires explosive rounds. On paper, this should be a versatile powerhouse, but theory and a Helldiver mission are two very different things. So let's do a limited test with the Automatons. This is where we are expected the Scorcher to shine, and let me tell you, it does not disappoint. Taking this weapon against the Automatons feels like bringing the perfect tool for the job. Basic troopers and marauders are a one-shot kill to the chest. The small area effect damage is just forgiving enough that a near miss can still stagger or finish off a nearby bot. But where it truly earns its reputation is against medium armored units. Devastators become way less threatening, even if you don't hit their weak spots. The explosive splash damage chunks their health, which is a massive advantage over standard rifles whose bullets would just bounce off. Shield devastators are another perfect example. Instead of flanking, you can just shoot the shields. The explosion hits the shield and the splash damage hits the bot behind it. It's a game changer in a chaotic firefight. Perhaps the most satisfying use though is against these scout striders. You no longer have to dance around trying to hit the exposed pilot, just shoot the front plate. The explosive blast bypasses the armor and kills the driver, collapsing the walker in a single satisfying heap. This completely changes how you engage automaton patrols. It even holds its own against heavier targets, letting you destroy gunship engines or damage tank turrets, which can vary at times. Each shot against the boss is so impactful that low ammo feels like the fair trade-off for it. For fighting the automaton menace, the Plas-1 Scorcher is top tier. Now, after that power trip against bots, it's time for a dose of cold, hard reality on the Terminid front. This, personally to me, is where the Scorcher's biggest flaws become painfully obvious. The number one issue? Self-damage. The very explosion that makes it great becomes your worst enemy when a pack of hunters leap into your face. Firing at point-blank range is a guaranteed way to injure yourself, staggering you just long enough for the swarm to finish you off, or in some cases outright kill you. The second major problem is ammo efficiency. That 20 round magazine that felt fine against the bots will evaporate in seconds against bugs' hides. It's effective against smaller bugs, but the sheer numbers mean you'll be reloading constantly, and that 2.5 second reload feels like an open invitation for a hunter to tear you apart. This weapon is terrible for clearing large hordes, which is the Terminid's entire game plan. But it's not all that bad. It has some niche uses. The explosive rounds are great for clearing egg clusters from a safe distance. Against medium armor targets like the brute commanders and hive guards, it performs reasonably well since that explosion bypasses their armor. You can also hit the giant glowing weak spots on bar spitters to great effect. But when it comes down to the big boys like the Chargers and Titans, you're better off calling in a support weapon. While you can technically damage a Charger's fleshy backside, it's a massive waste of precious ammo unless you have a clear and effective line of sight to line them up. Fighting bugs with the Scorcher is a constant struggle against both the enemy and the weapon's limitation. It's usable, but far from optimal. Now, the reality check was Squids. Now, the Squids aren't as bad compared to the bugs, nor is it super amazing to use against them like the bots. The weapon seems to have a good middle ground when dealing with Squid factions. For example, against the Voteless, the Plas-1 can one-shot them fairly easily, and thus allow quick and rapid response when too many of them start to surround you. And even when you do start to surround yourself, the little AoE of the explosion damage it produces is strong enough to take out a few before they try to close the gap. Against the Overseers, it can melt them reasonably fast compared to most other weapons. Easily aiming just at their chest is enough to kill them within a few shots or less, unless you decide to aim for the head, which of course will speed up their timely demise. But this is where I would say the weapon's usefulness ends. While it can deal with flesh mobs, the amount of base and reserve ammo you hold isn't worth the hassle for the long run, considering how tanky they are. And then dealing with the harvesters or stingrays are also possible, but once again, it's best you use the support weapon instead, simply because of the lack of ammo you have. It's not terrible on this front, but unless you monitor how much ammo you hold, it can be a huge liability in a matter of seconds. So to make the Scorcher work on higher difficulties, especially against bugs or squids, you need to build your whole loadout around it. The most important synergy is the supply pack, which is optional. The Scorcher's low ammo capacity is its biggest weakness, and having a on-demand resupply completely changes effectiveness. Your choice of secondary and grenades also matter. Since the Scorcher struggles with swarms, a machine pistol like the Redeemer is a smart backup for anything that gets too close, or even the grenade pistol can help in your endeavour. For grenades, anything with crowd control is great, like the stun grenades. That can give you the breathing room you need to reload or reposition. Now, before we reach the conclusion of our investigation, if this kind of deep dive helps you decide how to spend your hard-earned medals, consider subscribing for more Helldivers 2 content. We break down the meta, test the gear, and give you the intel you need to spread managed democracy. So, is the Plas-1 Scorcher worth the memento grind? The answer is a solid but qualified yes. Against the Automatons, the Scorcher is an absolute S tier. It's one of the best primary weapons you can bring to the Western Front. Its ability to neutralize shielded enemies, pop scout striders from the front, and consistently damage devastators makes it a must-have for any bot missions. Against the Terminids and Squids, it's a bit of a different story. It's a C tier weapon, maybe a B tier if we're going to bump it up and be nice to it. The high risk of self-damage, poor ammo economy, and weakness against swarms make it a liability in most encounters. So, should you grind for it? Of course. If you want a top tier primary for melting automatons that reward smart positioning, then absolutely. It will make your life on the bot front significantly easier. But if you're looking for an all-purpose rifle for any mission, this one isn't it. But that does not mean it cannot be used on other fronts. You just need to be aware of the disadvantages it holds, and then build around it to fully make the weapon viable on all fronts. So Helldivers, we have spread managed democracy to the far reaches of today's audience. If this was super helpful, please do like, comment and subscribe. Once again, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you all in the next drop.